Hello, I'm Jody Wolf, and you're watching Expoz. It is January 8, 2017 at 1:25 a.m. Still preparing to do that last blog on the Be Not Deceived. It's bad. But right here, the most top horrifying moments in the Bible, starting with 10, when Satan told God that if you would not bless Job so much, he would curse you. So God let Satan tempt Job. And God took away Job's entire family, took his wife, his 7 children, killed all his animals. He had goat, he had sheep, he had I think Muse or Burl, not Muse, but he had these animals. And then Job allowed Satan to make Job sick. And through all this, Job never cursed God. He just said it's God's will. And when it was over, God kind of told Satan, well, get off my man. And Job never cursed God. God said, I'm gonna bless you. I'm gonna give you twice what you had. So he had 7 more children, another wife, and he had double the head of sheep, double the head of goat, double the head of camel, and double of everything, double land. And somebody said, wait a minute, then why didn't he get 14 children? Well, he has 14. He's got 7 in heaven, and he's got 7 right here on earth. So God honored him. So it was the torment of Job, chapter 1, 2, and chapter 38 to 42. And the 9th is the handwriting on the wall in Daniel 5. This is King Belshazzar. His dad, Nebuchadnezzar, left him a multi-billionaire, I guess you can say. And Belshazzar ordered all the goblets made of gold and silver that Nebuchadnezzar, his father, had taken from the temple of Jerusalem, and ordered them brought out so that all his wives and concubines might drink from them. That angered God. So they brought in the gold goblets and they'd been taken and from the temple of Jerusalem. And as they drank the wine, the praises of God were of gold and silver and bronze and iron, wood and stone, not of God. Suddenly the finger of a human appeared to write on a wall. Belshazzar freaked out. He said, what is that? Somebody said, well, only Daniel can read this because he did the same. He described a dream for your father, and it came to pass. So Daniel came to Belshazzar, and he said, can you read this? And he said, yes. He said, you're going to die. And pretty much is what he said. But he said, I'll give you half of my kingdom if you can interpret this for me. And he said, Belshazzar, he said, I will interpret what God wrote. And it is a punishment against you. It's for the wanton blasphemy, especially in his drinking of the goblets that his father had stolen from the temple of Solomon in Jerusalem. And he told him the other things that would happen. And then Belshazzar said, well, I will give you half of my... And Daniel said, Belshazzar, you have no kingdom left. And that night, Belshazzar was killed. Number 8, the massacre of the innocents in Matthew 2, 16 through 18. And when Herod realized it had been outwitted by the Magi, he was furious and gave orders to kill all the boys in Bethlehem in the vicinity who were 2 years and under. And luckily, Jesus escaped that. And so that he had a punishment, pretty bad one out of that. Number 7, the liberation of Sodom and Gomorrah, is they told Lot, the angels, to get your wife, get your family, get out, and do not look back, or you will surely die. And as they were leaving and hearing the blast hitting the cities, his wife turned and looked back, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Now, the next morning, Abraham went back. He got up to return to the place where he had stood before with the Lord. And he looked downward toward Sodom and Gomorrah, toward the plain, and he saw dense smoke still rising from the land as a smoke from a furnace. Now, this is a prototype of fire and brimstone aspect of the Bible. We speak of this event, of the horror it witnesses that we have done. In other words, what we have done, we have set off a nuclear explosion in New Mexico. Radioactive strontium, TIUM-90, is forever now part of all living organisms that can be found in your bones. So every man in this country or around this place has that radioactive material in their bones today, still. And 6, the locust of the abyss, Revelation 9, 7 through 11. It talks about the horrors that's going to go on during the days of the Revelations, where it's the 7-year tribulation. And then you get on down to 5, the 10 plagues of Egypt, Exodus 7, 14, 12 through 29, or 12 and 20, 7, 14, and 12, 29. And you know enough about that. You've read enough about that you all know about all the lice and the fleas, the ticks, the biting flies, the livestock died, the boils and the sores and everybody, darkness, and then the blood and all the waters, and then on and on. And then he took the firstborn male of every Egyptian household. And then you come on down here and you'll get to Florida, the flood of Genesis. Don't need to tell you about that. You know all about the flood. And then we come on down to 3, God's judgment against Jerusalem in Ezekiel 22, 17 through 22. Chapter 22, verse 17 through 22. It's God's judgment against Jerusalem. That is something that has happened and will happen again. You just have to read that. Number 2, the Passion of Christ, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I don't even believe that Mel Gibson showed an accurate picture of how bad Christ looked. I really don't. I think it was understated, and it's something that horrifies to look at, but it was worse than that. And then number 1, the worst of the worst, and it's going to come, and the sad thing is, when it comes, it never ends. It will go for eternity. This is the lake of fire. Revelations chapter 19, verse 20, chapter 20, verse 10, and then 14, and then 15. Again, Revelations chapter 19, verse 20, 20, verse 10, and 14, and 15. The lake of fire that will never burn out. You will never be burned up. Your soul will be there. And all the terrifying things that frighten you today, you will experience those things forever and ever and ever, for eternity in hellfire. It never ends. I can read that to you some more, and it will just bring chills to you. Hell describes in only a few spots throughout the Bible as a place of fire. And all these descriptions are in the New Testament except for allegorical studies like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace. In God's revelations to John, the final end of the world is depicted as a war between good and evil. The good are not Christians. Christians are raptured to heaven before the great tribulation begins, sparing them the horrors that ensue immediately after. At least many say immediately after. I say there may be a time period between the rapture of the church and the beginning of the tribulation because of the things that have to be ramped up and get ready, like the mark of the beast. And instead of the good who remain or those who convert to Christian faith, they'll still have to die as martyrs, most of them, at the hands of the Antichrist, also called the beast. He is assisted by another beast called the false prophet and the antithesis of the Holy Spirit. They are both controlled by Satan. They first come to power by masterful diplomacy, making the whole world love them and unite behind them in the name of peace. But then after 3.5 years, the Antichrist shows up. His true colors take over, and the whole world, something no one has ever achieved, not even Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, Napoleon, or Hitler. In the end, a natural battle will take place at Horrormageddo. That's what it's called, Horrormageddo, which is Armageddon is what we call it, in northern Israel. It's in a valley 20 miles wide and I forget how long. And it'll be so full of blood it'll come to the horse's girth. Okay, I just wanted to tell you the top 10. And I'm trying to psych myself to tell you about the bad that's going to be here after the church is raptured. And guys, still be not deceived. Sadly, many will be. And God, you're not going to like it. Jody Wolf Expoz.